voting for the candidate who really knows that if there's time to lean, there's time to clean. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on a choice, better get on your mandate. You get it on. Tim Pool is back on the show. You know Tim from his very successful podcast and YouTube channel as well. Tim Pool, daily news podcast, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you find finer podcasts. Good to see you again, Tim.
Thanks for having me.
Lots going on these days.
Oh, yeah.
And you're probably the right guy to talk to. Not sure if you caught the Kamala town hall the other day. And I'm not sure if you have thoughts, but I pulled a couple of clips. It is an interesting political time, and I'd be very interested in your opinion of this. Both sides, meaning the people that vote for Trump are going to vote for Trump, the people that are going to vote for Kamala Harris, both think that it's insane that what the other side is doing and who they're supporting. Like the Trump people, when I listen to Kamala Harris speak, I look around and go, this is insane. This is insane. She's not capable of answering a question or stringing together an answer. Like it's insane in that it's like there's five guys. One of them's going to be the lead pilot in this bombing raid, and one of the guys is dressed like a clown and wearing a wind-up beanie and playing with one of those paddle balls with the rubber string on it, and they go, we want this guy to be the lead commander for this mission. And I'm going, this is insane. This is insane. But then the other side looks at Donald Trump and goes, this guy's Hitlerian. He's going to put us in a gulag. This is insane, which we never had in the past. In the past, it was like, some marginal stuff, like Obama is running against Mitt Romney. And it's kind of like, nah, there's a difference. But I get it if you want to vote for Obama or Romney.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Well, I think you're absolutely correct. Watching the Kamala Harris town hall, it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. She uses many words to say so little, and that's how I've described her. It's fascinating when she spends 20 seconds to say nothing, and you see this in the Fox News interview when she was asked about immigration. Right away, she's given a question with a definitive answer. How many people do you think the administration has let in illegally? And then she just says, I'm glad we're talking about immigration because people want to talk about immigration. And I'm glad you brought up. Now, you know what hold on. We're 10 seconds in. You haven't told us anything. This town hall yesterday, there are a couple really big moments. One, Anderson Cooper asks her, are there any mistakes you've made in your personal or professional life where you think you've learned from those mistakes? And I think it takes her 20 seconds and she says nothing. I'm not trying to be mean or disrespectful. I mean, she literally just says, we all make mistakes. I mean, anybody who's a parent's made mistakes. Well, when I make mistakes, and I have many of them, I like to think that I'm just sitting here listening to this being like, she's got no answer. She has no response. She hasn't really thought about this. And it was funny because she then wraps up by saying, it would be a mistake not to be well-versed on the issues, which I think she realized in her mind, I have no idea what to say. That's a mistake. Maybe I should say that. There's another moment where she was asked by a member in the audience, how will you deal with illegal immigrants? Are they going to receive taxpayer funding? Are we going to be paying for this? And then she literally just starts talking about Trump and talking about immigration. She gives no answer whatsoever. I'm not going to pretend like Donald Trump always has the sleekest and best answer imaginable. But every time we see Kamala step up, it is this bad to the point where, don't take my word for it. You can say, Tim Pool, you're biased. I accept that. Fine. So be it. But CNN's own panelist said she entered word salad city when she can't answer these questions. And they've had numerous panelists now on CNN, their own professionals saying, yes, she really didn't give us any legislative answers. She kind of just said words that didn't say anything.
Right.
And then it wrapped up.
Well, we'll play some of that shortly, but as I think about it philosophically this way, and it's kind of confusing to me, which means these things are emotional more than they are pragmatic. These elections and who we're voting for, but she's trying to distance herself from Biden and the campaign and his policies and his administration. So she is saying, we're not going to rerun this Biden thing. And the American people go, okay, we don't like Biden. We don't like the last almost 4 years, and we don't want more of that. And then she is saying, yeah, you're not going to get more of that. But let's look at it this way, sort of as a metaphor. Let's just say Joe Biden is an orange and Donald Trump is an apple. Okay, so it's apples and oranges. And you can decide which one you like better, but they're very different. We can agree on that. Trump's an apple, Biden's an orange. And we've all said as Americans, we don't want more of the orange. Kamala Harris is a tangerine. She may not be an orange, but she's a fuck of a lot closer to an orange than an apple because she's a tangerine. So I don't get America when they go, we don't want oranges. Well, then you don't want tangerines either. You want the opposite of an orange, which is an apple. It seems pretty straightforward. And then what she has to do is go, I'm not really an orange, except for that's how you vote. That's your policy. And that's your party. You're the party. I'm not saying Democrats are bad. I'm just saying you're the orange party and Republicans are the apple party, and everyone's tired of the orange, but they won't go to the apple.
You know, this is the challenge because there's a lot of prominent individuals who don't want to be too honest out of fear of scaring away people who are not politically initiated by saying something like the Democratic Party right now is the party of the wealthy. They are the party of incoherence. And unfortunately for this country, whatever it is you think, Donald Trump and the Republicans have the edge. There are a lot of prominent people who avoid overtly saying Democrats are bad because there are a lot of middle-of-the-road people who are going to hear that and then immediately tune out and say, I don't know, this seems partisan. But I got to tell you, I'm not a fan of the Republican Party. There are a handful of Republicans I am a fan of. There are more Republicans I like than Democrats. And I grew up in Chicago, liberal family, voted Democrat my whole life, voted for Obama, saw the war, saw what Obama was doing, and I said, I'm out. I don't want to play this game. I did not vote for Donald Trump in 2016. I didn't like the guy. I certainly didn't like Hillary. And then I saw in 2020 the legislative agenda that Trump was proposing. I agreed with a lot of it on foreign policy grounds. Then I've seen the past 4 years, and it's actually quite simple. Donald Trump has RFK Jr. talking about health and wellness and environmental toxins. He's got Tulsi Gabbard saying better foreign policy. He's got Vivek Ramaswamy and J.D. Vance, two very intelligent, younger political personalities. He's got Elon Musk talking about free speech. And then on the other side, I see Dick and Liz Cheney and Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris has no legislative proposals. She has experts offering up proposals, some of which I do agree with, but not an individual who could actually implement them, in my opinion. And then you look at these, what the Wall Street Journal referred to as a sleeper issue, for instance, one example being male competitors in female sports, the gender ideology issue, for which many middle-of-the-road Americans do not want males of any identity competing against their daughters. She can't answer those questions. Kamala Harris publicly stating she wants, and this is on the record, K-File, CNN, look it up, saying she wants to give sex change operations to illegal immigrants detained. I don't know why we pay for that. I mean, that seems like a weird thing to be a proponent of.
Yeah.
But this is the ideology you get right now from the Democratic Party, which is pushing moderates, independents, libertarians, and even former Democrats to the Republicans.
Well, this is kind of back to the apple and the orange. You go, well, the orange is the side that wants the transgender stuff and wants the biological men competing with women, and it doesn't want any border wall built and doesn't want remain in Mexico and doesn't want to frack and doesn't want to drill and cheap energy and all that kind of stuff. And then somebody goes, yeah, okay, that's all them. That's all that stuff, and we don't want any of it. But the tangerine says she's not going to do as much of, or it's got a different take. And I'm just like, just go with the apple. They never talk about it. All the stuff you're talking about, they never bring it up. So it's easy.
I mean, there's a big challenge. You know,
I
watch the news every single day, probably an unhealthy amount. And the people who watch my show are people who are deeply tuned into the news. For a regular person, it actually is just really simple. It's the economy, stupid.
Right.
And they're going to come out, and they've done this. Don Lemon famously went to Atlantic City. He's asking people on the boardwalk, who you voting for? These interactions, these are people saying, I'm voting for Donald Trump. He asked one guy, why are you voting for Trump? He says, because I want the economy to be better. And he has the nerve to say to the man, actually, the economy is good. And I love that, because it's like, here's a guy who went to the grocery store and he can't afford it. He's wondering why his Walgreens, his 7-Eleven, his Big Lots have just filed for bankruptcy or shut down. And then Don Lemon, who's this millionaire former CNN host, standing here with his camera crew, says, no, you're wrong. The economy is good. Yeah. It's like, yeah, sorry, you can't lie to the person experiencing a bad economy.
Well, look, we're all economists and we're all virologists and we're all experts in the sense that I don't have a degree in the economy. I go to the El Pollo Loco in my city. I buy a couple of pieces of chicken and a couple of sides and a chicken bowl for my son, no drinks, and it's $27. And I'm like, that shit used to be $13. So now I'm an economist. And then Fauci and everyone else is explaining to me how dangerous this virus is and how we have to lock the schools down and lock the churches down and lock the ballparks down, except for I don't know anybody who's died of this virus. And I know tons of kids. I have kids. They never got it, or they did. It was like a cold. So now I'm an expert. See, because I'm just looking around. So we're all sort of economists. You go to the steakhouse and the thing's $80 for a filet. And you're like, that thing used to be $43. Like 10 minutes ago, and now we're all economists. We're experts. I drive by the gas station in California. It's $5.75 a gallon. It was $3.25 or whatever it is. I go to Wyoming. It starts with a 2. But the point is I'm now a de facto economist because I have a wallet and eyeballs.
This is why, I rather disparagingly say it's a cult. On the liberal Democrat side, they say Trump supporters are in a cult. Yeah, well, look, shout out to Dave Smith, prominent comedian and libertarian. He was the favorite for the Libertarian Party presidential nominee until he decided not to run. He just announced he's voting for Donald Trump. And this is a guy who's ragged on Trump relentlessly for years. Donald Trump goes to a rally and he says, just bragging about how he got warp speed and the vaccine out. The whole crowd boos him. I'm like, this is not a cult. There are a lot of people who like the policy proposals he's made, and they boo him when he does something bad. Then I look at the Democrat side. You can clearly tell the economy is not doing well, but the numbers say it is. They came out. The FBI said crime was down. The Democrats, the corporate press, ABC News fact-checked Donald Trump. You are wrong. Crime is down. What happens later? A week or so ago, the FBI revised its crime numbers without saying anything, updating a new PDF file. It shows crime's actually way up. They play this game. They just tell Democrats it's fine. Don't believe your lying eyes and ears. And these people go online and they say they're voting for it. That's why I can't believe that people would actually vote for Kamala Harris on the merits. Now, maybe they have no idea what's going on, so they just fill out the ballot and don't know otherwise. That makes sense to me. But on an argument level, I mean, it makes no sense.
Well, they're not running on the merits. They're running on it's basically, would you like to vote for a potato or Adolf Hitler?
That's true.
And I think most Americans will go, well, I'll take the potato. I mean, the potato's not going to fix the economy, but the potato's inert, and Adolf Hitler's going to start opepening up camps. So,
did you see the Atlantic article? It said Trump is speaking like Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini. So now he's all of them.
Well, I do. I like the intentional misinterpretation of stuff when he's talking to Sean Hannity and laughing about being a dictator day one. And they're like, he said it himself. Right. You are, can I explain something? I will liken it to me making a lot of off-color racial jokes. If I was actually a racist, I would shut up. I wouldn't make jokes about races because I would feel that some people are finding out what's truly lurking inside my brain. If, in fact, you are going to become a dictator day one, you play that close to the vest.
Yeah.
If you are going to be a dictator, you get up there and act like Ellen in 2010. Just dance and smile and nod and laugh and do all. You would act like Kamala Harris if you were in fact planning on being a dictator. You would certainly not joke about it out loud.
Indeed.
So there is a clip I have, which I'm now into the sort of taking crazy pills part of this whole election. She gave the town hall, and some guy asked about price gouging. And now back to Trump, who can meander a little bit with his answers, and Kamala Harris as well. When somebody says to Trump, how are we going to bring down these prices at the supermarket? He goes, well, we got to get more energy. We got to bring down the cost of energy. We bring the cost of diesel down, and then moving all the food and all the vegetables and produce and everything. Everything comes down once we lower the price of energy. And now you can agree or disagree, but that's his answer, right?
Yeah.
This is Kamala's answer. We'll have the question first, I think.
You to Eric Swenson. He runs a service desk for an IT company in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. He's registered as a libertarian, describes himself as an independent. He says he's undecided. Eric?
Thank you, Anderson. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you, Eric.
So my question is concerning groceries. Grocery prices have gone up quite a bit in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And some people blame former President Trump. Some people blame President Biden. Who would you say is correct? And what would you do to bring prices down for Americans?
Thank you, Eric. And you're absolutely right. You know it. I know it. I think most Americans know it. Price of groceries is still too high. And we need to address it in a number of ways. One of my aspects of doing what we need to do to bring down the cost of living for working people and the middle class in America is to address the issue of grocery prices. Part of my background and how I come to it is probably a new approach.
All right, you can pause it for a second. All right, so far we got nothing, right? So far there's nothing. All right, we'll keep going, but I just mean so far we've not got there yet. Okay.
Middle class in America is to address the issue of grocery prices. Part of my background and how I come to it is probably a new approach, grounded in a lot of my experiences as a former attorney general, where I took on price gouging. And part of my plan is to create a new approach that is the first time that we will have a national ban on price gouging, which is companies taking advantage of the desperation and need of the American consumer and jacking up prices without any consequence or accountability.
Okay, so the reason the steak and the hamburger and the broccolini are more expensive at the Albertsons or the Safeway or the Gelsons are because they're all simultaneously price gouging throughout the nation?
Let's say that's the case. Wow. Kamala, thank you for informing me that these big corporations have conspired all at once to price gouge. And what is your plan? What will you do? Just saying we're going to have a national ban on price gouging. Okay, what does that look like? Which regulatory agency is going to step up? Who's the person in charge of this? How will they regulate this nationally? All she said was a bad thing happened. And then we're left questioning, what does that mean? Also, Mrs. Tangerine, the oranges are in charge, and you've been with them for 3+ years. So what's Biden's thing? I mean, how long has this price gouging been going on? And then why isn't Biden doing anything about it? Or maybe, Tim, this is part of Putin's price hikes. Oh. Remember that one? Yeah, Putin raised all the prices on everything. I like when they let that one go, actually. We haven't heard that one in a while. There's more to this. Anderson, now what do you think Anderson Cooper's doing with his pesky follow-up questions and stuff? Like, is he decided to start doing his job, or what is his role here? You know what I think is that at a certain point, you can't cover up the dirt, right? You're sweeping the muck under the rug, and eventually it's like in the cartoons, there's a giant mound, and you're looking at a rug, and you're like, there's something under that. So for CNN, they've done a couple things. They've got, I believe, Scott Jennings and Ryan James Gerdusky are two personalities they've added recently who are countering this narrative. For the longest time, they've just played this game that no matter what Democrats do, no matter what Kamala says, it's fine, it's good, and Trump is bad. But I think they've realized they've sacrificed audience. No one is buying it anymore. And if they're going to let Kamala Harris just vamp like this and say nothing, the audience will get angry. So he has no choice but to push back a little bit.
And we have a little more here with Anderson doing a little pushing back. But I got a question for you, Tim Pool. She says, look, the guy goes, look, prices are too high at the supermarket. And she says price gouging is what's going to fix it, or what's caused it and how she's going to fix it. Now, to your point, she doesn't say how she's going to fix the price gouging. Is there anybody in America that thinks the reason everything is more expensive at the store is because the store who's working at a 2% margin is gouging them? And if not, why doesn't somebody in her camp say, stop saying price gouging? Nobody knows what you're talking about. And it also doesn't appear as if that's ever going to solve the problem. And you're in charge now. So why haven't you solved this?
There are absolutely people in this country who believe it when they hear it. Okay. It is the strangest thing to me. And I have to wonder if right now the strategy among Democrats is, outright behind the scenes with their consultants, they're telling Kamala, look, you're not going to get any smart person to vote for you. We have to maximize the back end of the bell curve, the lowest percentage of IQs in this country, to get as many votes as possible.
There's a little more to this one. It's just Anderson pushes back a little bit. Play that.
Price gouging. I looked at your plan. You talk about going after price gougers, and I'm quoting from the plan, on essential goods during emergencies or times of crisis. I get that. How does that help, though, someone like Eric with prices that for years the grocery prices just been high?
Well, first of all, Anderson, as you know, and obviously CNN has been covering extensively what has been happening in the state of Georgia, North Carolina, Florida. It's a real issue. I was Attorney General of California. I was the top law enforcement officer of the biggest state in the country. I took this issue on because it affects a lot of people. And I'm not going to apologize for the fact that we need to actually deal with accountability when these, not all, in fact, most don't, but when companies are taking advantage of the desperation and the need of the American people. We saw it actually during the pandemic as well, where because of supply chain issues, there was a reduction of supply, and then they would inflate.
She's not answering the question at all.
It's not hard to answer these questions. It really is not. I can only assume she wants to lose. Maybe she's like, I never wanted this job. They put me here. Nobody voted for me. I don't want to be here. I'm out.
Really? It just seems insane that she's talking about, supply chains and COVID and price gouging. And also, by the way, I live in California. According to our governor, the reason the gas prices are so high is we're being gouged, which he says once every year and a half, but then never stops the companies from gouging us. So it's a kind of to me, it's a lose-lose in that I don't think they're gouging us, but if they are gouging us, as you say, you're in charge and you can't stop it.
Well, I don't know if this is true, so correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't California have a very high tax on gasoline as well?
Yes, we have high everything on everything. And what we have, especially with fuel, is we, unlike the rest of the country, have to have a certain mix in our gasoline because we have air and water and things that you don't care about in your state. But here we care about our air and our water. So we have to add additives to it, and they have to have refineries that have been modified to do it. And guess who has to pay for all that? The whole thing's like they want Chevron to eat it. Chevron doesn't eat it. They pass it along. The same way McDonald's, once you enact the $20 minimum wage, doesn't eat it. They just pass it along. I don't get why they don't understand that. And then these people go, why is a Big Mac $7? Because you mandated this stuff and the business passes it to the consumer.
Well, they don't realize, especially with the supermarket thing. These markets, like you mentioned, they operate on between a 1% to 2% margin. They don't make a heavy profit. There's no gouging. It's we have to charge this amount for this product so that we can hire the employees and run this business. But I got to be honest, even in response when when Cooper says, your plan calls for no price gouging in emergencies. Personally, I have no problem with price gouging. So you have to question what price gouging is in the first place. On the surface, you'll hear these individuals say, oh, it means you're in a disaster zone and you need water and someone's charging you $10 a bottle of water. Well, okay. Someone's got to travel through a hurricane zone where there's no roads anymore, where the roads collapsed, and bring water to your area. And they're saying, I'd be willing to do this if I could sell a case of water for $100. If I can't make any money off of it and take that risk, I'm not going to do it. So then the people in disaster areas have nothing. Certainly there's a problem with monopolization and exploitation, fine. But if we've seen this before with the algal blooms in the Great Lakes, we see it with hurricanes. We are better off with people shipping in goods and saying, look, it cost me $1,000 to get here. I have to make at least $100. Otherwise, I lose money on this deal, but at least I got you water. The idea that it's always price gouging and is always bad and should be banned would actually just result in disaster zones being worse off in many instances.
I agree. Joe, do you have Gavin Newsom when I was talking about the homeless clip? Okay. I will say this. Look, when you go to a ballpark, when you go to a Dodgers game and you order a beer and the guy wants $17, you could argue that's price gouging. I mean, it does not cost them $17 to produce that beer. I mean, they get a keg. The kegs, I checked into it once, but kegs have like 125 pours in them and cost them wholesale at Dodger Stadium like $40 for a keg. So you can do the math on $18 per pour times this thing that costs less than $50. I mean, they're even in 3.5 pours, right? So Dodger Stadium is price gouging, but I want a beer and I don't have to get a beer. There's a Home Depot's down the street from me. I could get a generator with the, solar charger on it and a backup battery and God knows what else for, $185. But if I was Tom Hanks trapped on an island, it would be worth a shitload more to me on that island. That beer is $1.04 worth of beer. But if for me to sit at a Dodger game and have a cold one, it's worth a lot more than $1 to me. So I agree with you.
Well, I mean, this is the idea ultimately. Kamala was called a communist by, I think it was the Washington Post. They ran a column saying, if you're trying to avoid being called a communist, maybe don't propose communist price controls. The idea of banning price gouging is absurd in its entirety. It's exactly as you explained with Dodger Stadium. You don't have to have a beer. And guess what? If everybody sitting at that stadium said, I ain't spending $17 on a beer, the next day the beer would be $13.
Yes.
And if everybody said, I ain't spending $13 on a beer, it'd go down to $7. But people are willing to spend that at that place, at that time. They may grumble like, that's an expensive beer, but they want it. And they have a choice. They don't have to drink beer. The idea that Carolla would come in and say, no, you're not allowed to sell beer at this price anymore, it'll make everyone happier, is an absurdity.
Yeah, I know. It kind of reminds me of Santa Monica, People's Republic of Santa Monica years ago, said, look, we're doing a maximum cost on an ATM usage charge, which I was always like, look, if it's worth look, you go to a strip club and use the ATM, they charge you $20. Why? I don't know. You don't want to leave the strip club and go down the street to the B of A. That's their prerogative. If the B of A wants to charge $10 to use their ATM, then some other bank is going to pull in across the street and charge $5. That's how it works. But Santa Monica said they cap it at $2. And they said, we put the vote to the people, and the people spoke, and they capped it at $2. And then what I would say to the city council at Santa Monica is, let's take a vote on the maximum a parking ticket can cost in Santa Monica. Let the people speak, city council. Oh, $2. Okay, good, because you guys are charging $65. But the people would like it at $2. So let's let the people speak.
So did the ATMs all disappear?
Well, it's hard to see them because there's homeless guys sleeping under all of those awnings. So, yeah, we have I'll tell you, so I always kind of drill down on is we want to lower the price at the supermarket. And the one thing we know isn't going to work is your legislation on price gouging. So how could you solve a problem if you don't know what the problem is? You know, if you think about sort of conceptually, you know, if you're going, look, we run a factory and we're not getting enough into the shipping and it takes too long to load the trucks, and the person goes, well, I think we need more skylights in the ceiling. And you go, no, that's not going to help the trucks get more inventory loaded into them. And they go, well, then maybe it's the towel dispensers in the bathroom. Okay, well, we could never solve the problem unless we go, we need another roll-up door and another, cargo shipping bay. Okay. So if you're just talking about price gouging, then you could never solve the problem. And years ago, Gavin Newsom, the aforementioned Gavin Newsom, was on this show. He hasn't been back in a while. But I was explaining to him that the homeless problem, this is over a decade ago. I said the homeless problem is drug addicts and people with mental issues. And then he had his own answer for the homeless problem. This is 10 years ago, before it blew up. We'll play a little. This notion of like the guy's a hardworking, God-fearing family member who lost his job and now had to take to the streets is total and utter bullshit.
But what about the picture of real homelessness, which is a poor mom with 2 kids with a husband who took off and left her, who's sitting there struggling on that minimum wage job, and all of a sudden now is out in the streets and sidewalks desperately trying to find some help, get her life back, can't get those kids into child
I think that's what happened to
can't
Jewel.
afford them. That's the tough thing.
Yeah, that's
and
tough.
That's a picture of family homelessness in this country.
That's a postage stamp.
No,
the real picture is bigger than the AIDS quilt, and those are crazy junkies.
Yeah, but no. So
all right.
No, see, I will challenge.
All right. He's Oh, sorry. Go back 20 seconds. He's going to challenge me. 10 years ago in Los Angeles, in California, homeless capital of the world, that it's primarily comprised of females who work full time in a minimum wage job, who have 2 kids, who are divorced, and now forced to sleep on the street. That's the real face. That's the real part of it. My stuff about the crazy junkies, that's just nibbling around the edges. But he wants to get to the heart of the problem, which is women who are employed full time, who got divorced. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. I've got experience in California working at a nonprofit specifically on homelessness, and I've also have some experience in Chicago with it as well. This one really frustrates me quite a bit because you are completely correct. Drug abuse, substance abuse, and mental health are the defining characteristics of the homeless, or of the majority of them. In my experience, working directly with shelters and doing direct outreach to homeless, I've even got some experience in Washington. I tell this to people. Unfortunately, a large portion of them want to be homeless. Many of them are unable to help themselves to not be homeless, and there is no simple answer. It does frustrate me when Newsom just lies. Oh, it's a mom with 2 kids. No, it isn't. I never once, in any of the states I've been to, dealing with this issue, talked to or met a mother with children who was homeless. I've met a woman who was on heroin or on meth. I've in Chicago, I dealt with a man who, and it's a sad story. This guy seemed to be severely mentally impaired and could barely speak properly, and he smelled like human waste. That's not someone you just give money to and it solves the problem. And I run into these well-to-do liberal types, people like Newsom, who say, did you know that there are more homeless people in this country than there are houses? Or there are more empty houses than homeless? As if to imply we could take any one homeless person, find an empty home and put them in it. And I'm like, what do you think happens to a person who's struggling to take care of themselves, who's defecating in the street, and you put him into, say, I don't know, an investment property owned by a bank? Okay, well, the property values collapse, there's going to be a fire, there's going to be a flood, there's going to be damage. Anybody who's ever owned a home knows you can't just put a random homeless person in a home because it will fall apart and they could get hurt. But they don't get it. And it frustrates me to no end because it's very much like the voter ID issue from that Ami Horowitz video. These people have never researched the issue. They make assumptions about what it means to be homeless and why people are homeless, and they never seek to actually understand or solve the problem. They just stand up on a pedestal and scream, I'm a good person, so here, let's give money to these people. Perpetuates the problem.
Yeah, agreed. Dr. Drew volunteered as an addiction medicine specialist to be on the board in Los Angeles, and they booted him right off.
Wow.
They said wouldn't accept him. LA Times wrote a hit piece about it. And at a certain point, it starts to border on criminal because people are dying.
It's an industry. There's a lot of money. In my experience, I've encountered many people that are concerned that if they actually solve the problem, their nonprofits and their grants will disappear. But there's a major component that a lot of people don't understand. And I said it, and it's true. There are many homeless people who want to be homeless. And these liberals, they get offended when I say that. Oh, that's not true. You don't understand, okay? You go up in Seattle, and there was a group of kids at the time I was there. This is maybe 14 years ago. A group of kids that intentionally were homeless. There's nothing you could offer them. They want to hang out by the university and live outside where they hang out with their friends, have zero responsibilities, and people give them money for food for free. They teach other kids how to get EBT benefits because the state just gives it out, enabling the homelessness. And when I go to these kids and I say, tell me about your life. What are you doing? And they're like, I jumped on a freight train, in the Midwest, rode it here to Seattle because I heard on the internet you could get free food at the food banks every day. There's a different food bank to go to, and the government will give you free bus fare and EBT cards, and you don't have to do anything. You will live and eat for free so long as you're homeless and a youth. So they have decided to stay there. The shelters will come out and they'll say, we would like to give you a place to live for free. And their response is, no, because you'll give me a curfew. You'll stop me from doing drugs. Not interested.
Yeah. Well, that's how it works.
Sound mind. They've chosen.
Of course, everybody, every homeless shelter is like, look, you can live here, but you have to be sober. And they go, well, I'm an addict and I do not want to be sober. So I will choose living out of here versus a roof over my head, because I'm addicted to drugs. I'll play a little more of that tape because you can just hear how clinically insane Gavin Newsom sounds when he's explaining this as his number one issue.
Off and left her, who's sitting there struggling on that minimum wage job, and all of a sudden now is out in the streets and sidewalks desperately trying to find some help, get her life back. Can't get those kids into childcare.
I think that's what happened to
Can't
Jewel.
afford them. That's the tough thing.
Yeah, that's
and
tough.
That's a picture of family homelessness in this country.
That's a postage stamp.
No,
the real picture is bigger than the AIDS quilt, and those are crazy junkies.
Yeah, but no. So what? No, see, I will challenge you on this. What you're talking about is chronic homeless, which is the picture we have of homeless, which is a relatively small percentage of the folks that are homeless.
Okay. I don't know. First things first. Nobody said you're evil, you caused homelessness. They just said we'd like to solve this problem and you're in charge and you got $24 billion to fix it over a couple of years. Why the argument? What are you fighting with me about? I'm telling you, it's crazy junkies who are on the street. You want to know how I know? I have an automobile. And I drive, and it has windows. And I see out of the windows, and I live in Los Angeles. That's what makes me an expert. And I've not seen any sober mothers of two wearing their Taco Bell uniform wandering around. I've not seen that.
Is he implying that there is an unseen pandemic of homelessness where these single moms are just living at a friend's house, so technically they have no home of their own? Because certainly you're not seeing them walk around carrying their kids, like you mentioned, in Taco Bell uniforms.
Well, also, everybody I know, including myself, has like crashed on people's, done the sofa surf, hung out at someone's house for a while, or spare bedroom, or put a futon in the garage. Like, that story's as old as time. Half the people I know, I was like, well, my sister got divorced, so she came and lived with us with her kids for a while until she could get back on her feet. Whatever, I don't know. But those people aren't running around with machetes and a load in their pants. So we're not so worried about them as citizens of the town. I really don't know how many people in any given house are sleeping on the sofa. It's their business. It has nothing to do with me.
This is the scary thing is they say California is 5 years ahead of the rest of the country. What happens in California will happen to the rest of us later on. And when you look at the plethora of issues that California is facing, I don't want that future for my country. I mean, bro, in San Francisco, you guys have a poop department. You know about this?
Yes. No, look, the funny thing about California and San Francisco and all those places, they brag about being ahead of the rest of the country. But they're talking about abortion rights, not homeless guys looking for a place to die.
Oof.
I know. I completely agree, and it's interesting. It's also interesting, that I have my analogy with this, other than my apples and oranges and tangerines one, the one I use a lot.
That's a good one.
I was just over at Jay Leno's garage. I always ask him about his turbine car, which is his Chrysler from 1962, where they built a turbine car. And they thought, it's really cool. Sounds like a jet engine when it fires up, all that good stuff. He just had it rebuilt back in Dearborn. In 1962, Chrysler made a bet. This is the future. This is going to be the future. And the internal combustion engine, which at that point was 65 years old, was your grandpa's. They sunk a bunch of money into it, and it just turned out it just didn't work. It just didn't work, and everyone was back to the internal combustion engine, the next year. And it turns out the internal combustion engine still works better than anything. We all like the idea of the jet car, but the turbine engine just didn't work. And when I hear guys like Bernie Sanders talk and, Gavin Newsom and these guys, they're like, look, I'm saying internal combustion engine, that works. And they go, that's your grandfather's engine. Now, we're not going to go turbine because that didn't work, but we have a version of it. We have one that's kind of like the turbine. It's not like all the other failed socialist states. This one's we got our own flavor on this turbine. And I'm just like, it doesn't work. So I don't want your version of it. Just walk away. Figure out what works.
Yeah. Well, we got the EV mandates now, and it is pretty crazy. I mean, look, I will say this. We have a challenge with automation. You mentioned the $20 minimum wage at McDonald's, right? You raise the minimum wage $20 and they start passing the prices on to the consumer, but they also just put in kiosks.
Right.
You go to McDonald's and there's not even anybody working there.
Yeah.
I went to Taco Bell a month or two ago, and it's just a screen. And then there's a guy in the back I can see making tacos. He hands them to me. I don't even talk to the guy.
Yeah, they literally have Flippy, the robot they've been working on here for a while, just flips burgers. Yes. So you will initially they'll pass it along to the consumer, and then they'll automate, and then they'll have no employees. That's what you shall create by this. But again, this is your turbine engine. We had somebody here in California running for I don't know what, and she was saying, why not make the minimum wage $50 an hour? Again, that's your turbine. I'm explaining to you, it won't work. It doesn't work. It can't work. And they go, but don't you want to live in a world where there's a $50 minimum wage? And I'm like, I do theoretically, except for it can't work. And I don't know why you don't know that.
Well, it's funny about a lot of these lefty politicians. They don't understand basic economics. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It matters what your buying power is. That's everything. They say $50 minimum wage because they don't understand that a $50 apple is still just one apple. I try to explain this to some of these people. I'm like, listen, if an apple costs you $1 and the person who picks the apples can pick 5 apples per hour, right? What happens when we have to pay that guy $50 in 1 hour?
Right.
How much cost the farm to produce 5 apples? It's kind of simple, isn't it? Those are going to be very, very expensive apples. They're going to cost you $12, $13. And they're like, no, an apple's I got to tell you, I had a guy on X, on Twitter. I was arguing with him about these socialist policies because, we all have to argue with people, strangers on the internet. And I asked him, don't you understand about the chain, like the food supply chain, where the milk comes from? It doesn't just come from a farm. It has to go through all these levels of processing, and the costs are included. And he goes, what do you mean? It's at the store.
Right.
And I said, right. But where does it come from before it goes to the store? And he says, what are you talking about? The food is at the store. And I said, wait. I'm saying that there's a distribution facility that bottles the milk and sends it to a warehouse. And they're like, that's not true. It's at the store. And I'm like, oh my.
Yeah.
You literally comprehend that someone has to bring the milk to the store. How is this guy going to vote on economic policy?
There was a controversy, shifting gears, a few months ago with the Russia media and all that kind of stuff, which sounded a lot like Russia. To me, in our media, having fun with people like you and Dave Rubin and other conservative hosts. I don't know what became of it. They sort of got on it. They hit it hard for a couple of days in the news cycle and then hasn't been brought up since. But I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about it. I didn't know really many of the bullet points of it.
Well, yeah, I can only say so much because I am a victim. And so is everybody else involved. But I'll try and keep it as simple but as informative as I possibly can. So I own a series of companies. The principal company that I have is Timcast, where I do the Tim Pool Daily News Show, Timcast IRL. And this company makes money through sponsorship memberships, et cetera. We have several different production companies that do shows and we license content. One of the shows that we produce on Friday morning is called The Culture War. We produce it, we distribute it. There's an individual who I knew for some time that had been reaching out, trying to license content from other individuals. They were launching a media company called Tenet Media, and they asked if they could license a show from us. And I said, no, but I do have a production company that produces this show, and you're welcome to license this. What that means is, and you know this full well working in media, my team and I make a show, upload it to Apple, to Spotify, and then after that, Tenet Media can put it on their platform as, a licensing agreement. So that was it. The show that we produced and still produce to this day was licensed for a third-party distribution live Friday mornings. And when the DOJ went after 2 employees of RT for FARA violations, that effectively shut down the Tenet Media and the license agreement that production company had with it. And to this day, the show is still produced, published in the exact same places it's always been, on YouTube, on my channel, on these various platforms. I can't speak for anybody else, but that was just it. There was never any instance where I accepted money from Russia. And the simplest way to put it is an American production company had a deal with a Tennessee-based production company for licensing an existing show that existed before, during, and after, and still does. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but the one thing I can say, just cherry on top, is I and the others who actually had these agreements are considered victims. And I can't say too much more because it's still ongoing.
So it was sort of corporate media hit piece to do the, you guys were mouthpieces for Putin, kind of. Were they going more Putin, more Russia puppet sort of angle? Is that what the news, how they spun it?
Well, a lot of media outlets went that route. And, I just appeared on Piers Morgan I think it was last week or the week before. And, there's this woman who just immediately starts attacking me. And look, the Culture War show, tomorrow we're having a discussion with historians on the rise and fall of empires. The show had an episode where we discussed theology versus simulation theory. We had one episode where we had an expert on the Roman Empire come and talk about the stages of Roman Empire. And I'm just wondering, that show, which is published on, again, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, is then redistributed elsewhere through a licensing agreement. You're going to have to explain to me how that is Russian disinformation. Now, I can't speak for anybody else, but when they bundle all of us together without taking into consideration what actually was going on, It's a surface level cursory understanding of an event. I don't think they actually read what the DOJ said. The DOJ even included in the indictment, in reference to me, it was a non-exclusive redistribution license. I mean, anybody who works in media knows what that means. It means I have a show and someone else put it on their YouTube channel, and and that's it. I don't know what they do with it after the fact. But, tomorrow, again, like I mentioned, we're going to be talking about the rise and fall of empire, the upcoming election, that history. We're going to talk about like the Chinese dynasties. There's a funny story about a Chinese emperor who was high on opium while his city was being ransacked. I don't know how that gets into the nitty gritty of modern day politics. I think it's silly, but of course, we are in an era where if you are on one side or the other, then you are a target for the other side. So, here I am saying I'm going to be voting for Donald Trump, and I advocate for that. And I have no problem criticizing Trump. I have no problem saying an increase in drone strikes under his first administration was bad, or that the lack of transparency around that was bad, firing Tomahawk missiles into Syria was bad. I still think I'm looking at a better option with Donald Trump, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, et cetera. Well, that's bad. You got to discredit anybody who's on the other side of the political spectrum, and I think that's largely what we're seeing.
Yeah, one thing you forgot about with Elon, you hit free speech, but the efficiency czar, I swear to God, I got a boner when I heard that. Like, I swear to God. Well, first things first, he can figure out a way to put a man on the moon or a satellite in orbit for a tenth the cost that NASA can, right? Or 20th or whatever it is. I want that guy cutting the red tape. You know what I mean? I want that guy thinning the herd and leaning things out. It's a pretty simple equation that I don't really understand. If you make, you can make $100,000 a year and have very little expenses and live a very good life, or you can make $5 million a year and be MC Hammer, have a bunch of mansions and a posse and 15 Rolls Royces, and you're going to go bankrupt. It's not really about how much. Well, it's two parts. It's how much do you collect, and then what comes in and what goes out. If what's going out is a fire hose right now, monetarily in this country, just interest on the debt, for instance, and all I hear is the proposals to get more money from me so that the fire hose can remain on full. Pardon me, but I would just like someone taking a look at the fire hose. That's all. I'm not saying cut Social Security. I'm just saying let's look at the fire hose. Let Elon Musk look at the hose, see if he can turn the spigot down just a little bit. Just a little.
Big one. This is a big one because they, what was it, last year, the year before? I think it was last year. Last year, 87,000 new IRS agents. And they keep pushing, the Democrats keep pushing this. Joe Biden's saying it, Kamala Harris is saying it. We are not going to raise taxes on anybody making less than $400,000 a year. You see, that is a manipulation tactic. It's assumptive language. By saying that, the average person thinks, I'm not going to pay more in taxes. That's not what they said. They said they're not going to raise taxes. What actually ends up happening is you're a middle class, you're a working class guy. You're going to get a bill in the mail from the IRS saying you owe us $327. Good luck. What are you going to do? Call a lawyer? And we have been seeing reports of this all over the country where people are saying, I got a buddy who said that I filed my taxes, and then this year they sent me a notice saying I actually owed them $3,000 more and they're withholding my refund. I'm like, well, congratulations. Your tax rate didn't go up. They just found taxes you owed. And in some instances, I had one guy tell me he got a bill from the IRS for a couple $100. He challenged it. They challenged back. He said, let's go through the records. And in the end, it turned out he didn't actually owe them the money. They're not going to raise taxes necessarily. I mean, I assume they probably would, to be honest, but they don't need to. With 87,000 new IRS agents and with them tracking all transactions in bank accounts over $600, they're going to nickel and dime this country. Because I'll keep it simple for you. Do you make more money going after every wealthy person in this country and taxing them more? Or do you go after the little guy where they're substantially more? You go to a guy who's worth $100 million and you say, you owe us $3 million, he's going to say, for $3 million, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the best law firm in the country. I'm going to get a $1 million retainer and tell them, I'm going to lose $1 million in this deal. You save me the $2 and we're good. And they'll say yes. And then the IRS is going to say, we can't do that. That fight is too big. But I tell you what, if we send out 87,000 letters targeting the little guy for 1,000 here, 1,000 there, they're not going to hire law firms. They're going to be between a rock and a hard place, and we're going to seize their refunds. We're going to send them bills they're going to have to pay, and they're going to get terrified, and they're going to pay it.
Well, there's a clip, I'm looking at my producer, that we probably didn't put on deck, but there is that clip of Kamala talking about the $400,000, which sounds like a lot of money to a lot of people in this country. I live in Los Angeles. And it's always funny when you live in Los Angeles, you know, they go, this rapper bought this lavish mansion outside of Atlanta for $2.7 million. And I'm like, that is a medium-sized ranch house in Sherman Oaks. Like you hear $1 million house, like anywhere here, you get nothing. Making $450K as a successful couple living in Los Angeles, you ain't rich. Not in these modern times. You're living a comfortable life, but you're nowhere near rich. You've got 2,500 square feet, and you're driving a Volvo that's 4.5 years old. So what she does is the sleight of hand. They go, look, I'm just charging. It's just you got to make over $400,000 a year. And then Anderson Cooper does a follow-up, and then they go, why shouldn't these billionaires pay their fair share? Well, there's a lot of real estate between somebody who works as an attorney in Los Angeles and makes $418,000 a year and Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. There's a lot of space there.
This is what I'm talking about with taxes, right? Somebody who's let's say someone's got $10 million cash on hand, receives a bill from the IRS for $1,000. They're not even going to look at the letter. Their assistant will likely pay it without saying anything because it's a rounding error to them. But for you, $1,000 could be the apocalypse. It could mean you're saying, like, well, how am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to pay my bills? I've always found this fascinating with Bernie Sanders and many of these progressives that want a progressive tax rate. Yeah, after $200,000, they say we're going to tax you at this rate. Yeah, well, I got news for you. A guy who's making $25 million a year and a guy who makes $250,000 a year, it's like you said, there's a lot of real estate between those numbers. They're trying to get to the point where there is no way to make it to the highest levels. The American dream, you could grow up poor and become a billionaire. You could be a high school dropout, a college dropout, and you can make it. Every policy I see them implementing is inching us towards a reality where it will be increasingly difficult to bridge that gap. So if you're born rich, you stay rich, and if you're born poor, you stay poor, and that's where we're heading under those policies. I'm not a fan. I like upward mobility, and I also like it when rich morons, their kids inherit the money, screw it all up, and then end up in the poorhouse. Not that I literally want to see them suffer, but the idea that you can make a mistake and lose everything means we have a fair playing ground to at least a certain degree. But the way they're going now, with the IRS and with the way they're handling taxes and property ownership, the way the cost of houses are going, yeah, we're getting to a reality where, especially with like estate taxes and stuff like this, you're gonna hand your kids nothing. You're gonna be a permanent renter. You're gonna die. Your kids are gonna inherit $5,000, which is barely gonna cover their bills. But the guy who's super wealthy, who doesn't mind the fees and isn't impacted by it, is not going to notice, and his kids are going to be rich forever. And it's a caste system that I don't think this country should have.
I was told by my assistant yesterday, just apropos of something I was talking about interviewing you. He said you were thinking about taking a break, but I didn't know what that meant.
Well, yeah. So I can give you the quick version.
Sure.
Run a company. We have. It's more than I run several companies, and they're all within a similar capacity. We have around 47 people who work here, and I host a morning show, a nightly show, as well as trying to run the company as the CEO. And I am also getting married to my longtime girlfriend, and we are expecting a child relatively soon. And so it came to a point where it's not going to be possible to host all of these shows, be the CEO, and be a dad and a husband. And so we had the concern of, do I come out and say this? Hey, guess what? This guy that so many people are sending death threats to and swatting, I've got a family, I'm a target, and we don't want to do that. And so following a series of mishaps over a couple of weeks, I just was like, you know what? We just got to do it. We just got to do it. However, I think there is a much simpler answer. And following this day of tumult and a conversation with my longtime girlfriend, ultimately we decided we could do some restructuring and strategic investment. It's a successful show where yesterday we were the 7th biggest live stream in the world. So that was pretty cool. Wow. Why shut that all down, right? And we're looking for strategic investment where someone can come in and basically, manage the businesses. I would have, executive authority to a certain degree, but then I can focus on hosting these 2 shows without shutting them down and actually grow the business in a meaningful way while still having time for my family. So I think it ultimately resolved in a net positive. And, we had a fan revolt. They said, you can't do it. I host 2 shows. I've got Tim Pool Daily News and I have Timcast IRL. And I said, well, the nightly conversation show, maybe we can't handle that. And I'll keep doing my morning show. So I'm still here. I'm still working. And fan revolt, they said, no, because we love them both. And I said, okay, then I've got to find a different solution. And we decided, for the sake of all of those who have supported my work all over these years and allowed this company to exist, we should try our hardest to figure out alternative means instead of just shutting it all down. So I think that's what we're doing. And I think it's working pretty well. And we've got some big moves coming in the next couple of weeks, which will be pretty cool.
Well, I hope you'll come back and update us after the dust of life settles a little. Let me give a plug, by the way. Tim Pool Daily News Podcast, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find finer podcasts. Also Instagram and X at TimCast. Always great catching up with you, Tim.
Thanks for having me. It's always a blast. I'm a big fan.
I'll be happy to be on your show anytime you ask, and hope to see you real soon.
Right on. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Tim Pool. All right, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll get into some news with Mayhem Miller right after this.
Hey, I'm Adam Carolla. That's Brad Williams and Jay Leno.
Hey, buddy.
Over there, we're doing our 3rd annual comedy fantasy camp. That's going to be January 23rd through the 26th, right in Hollywood, California. Where else would it be? These guys are going to be there.
So remember, 2 out of every 3 comics make it big.
Well, 1.5.
Do I get paid for this? Please tell me I get paid for this.
Go to comedyfantasycamp.com and get in on the fun.
Morgan & Morgan, life can be crazy sometimes, and one person's negligence can result in another's settlement. So let's hope that if anything happens to you, you get hold of Morgan & Morgan. If you're ever injured, check out our good friends Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, over 100 offices nationwide and more than 1,000 lawyers. And as long as we're in the more department, more than $20 billion with a B dollars recovered for over 500,000 plus clients. Morgan & Morgan has a proven track record of fighting and getting you full and fair compensation. Going on the road, doing stand-up every weekend, well, that can be hard. But submitting an injury claim with Morgan & Morgan, that's easy. So go with Morgan & Morgan, right, Dawson?
If you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/Adam or dial #law, #529 from your cell phone. That's forthepeople.com/Adam or #law, #529 from your cell. This is a paid advertisement.
And now, Alcoa presents Definitely Not a Jew on the Adam Carolla Show. Dateline, Winter Haven, Florida. A car thief returned the ashes of his victim's mother that the victim had kept in his car. Police are still looking for the thief and the car. The car was a limited edition Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat Red-Eye Jailbreak. Definitely not a Jew.
Yeah, that Hellcat's got over 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah, Hellcat's the only one I've seen get away from the cops consistently.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Big fan of police chases.
I love a police chase.
Don't we all?
You see one the other day where the SUV got off and hit the pylon on the overpass and the person died?
Ooh, missed it.
You said you're a fan of police chases.
I didn't say I was a connoisseur.
Oh, wait.
I'm more a casual.
I don't know why, and I don't know how X works or Twitter works, but every time I turned on Twitter the other day, it was a gray SUV running from the cops, dropped a couple of wheels in the dirt. As a guy who races cars, I know what it's like to drop a couple of wheels in the dirt.
Oh, yeah.
It's when you get off, you get a little bit off the racing line.
I played Mario Kart.
You will drop wheels, and when you drop it onto the dirt, it's now it's tough. Well, I'll show it to you then if you love it. But the person bought the farm.
Oh, rest in peace.
Yeah. Yeah, they were going.
Poor gray Honda CRV.
Real fast.
It looked like a last-second decision there to get off of the freeway, and this is an incredibly dangerous situation.
Drop.
Is advised, of course, they roll over, and you can see the dust into this underneath that overpass.
The speedometer had him clocked at 115.
Yeah, it advised against this.
115 miles per hour.
Fun to watch, not fun to participate in.
Yes. Dangerous amounts of speed. This guy really is a wordsmith. That car thing, it was going too faster for the speed that it was on. And then the guy the inside person then had their heart stop.
Man.
Because he made the boo-boo with the car wheel.
I have the uncanny ability to bum this whole show out every time. Sorry about that, Coach.
Yeah, I can't believe you missed it. You're a connoisseur. I thought you would have seen it.
I've told you I'm a casual fan at best. We got some news.
You got out of the gate saying you loved high-speed pursuits.
I do love them, but I'm not on X all day. I need to get back on my X again.
All right, news, sorry.
News. Woke Doc refused to publish a $10 million trans kid study that showed puberty blockers did not help mental health.
Yeah, well, or hurt mental health, I guess. Or didn't help. All right, so look, here's the deal. These guys get a lot of funding from a lot of places, and if they get out and they get out of their lane and they start talking about truthful things like where COVID may have come from a lab, or ivermectin may be effective, or hydroxychloroquine may be effective, or maybe this whole trans movement is hurting kids, then they get into trouble, and then they don't get more money.
Yeah.
So now we have doctors lying, essentially, and then everyone yells at me, why won't you listen to the experts?
Yeah.
I do not trust the experts who are getting paid by people who want them. You know who are experts? The people, R.J. Reynolds and Big Tobacco, the scientists they hired to tell you cigarettes weren't bad for you. Those were experts. They all had degrees.
Yeah.
They all had degrees, but somebody paid them to come up with an expert opinion. And I'm supposed to treat the expert, and my answer is, who's expert? Because Big Tobacco has lots of experts that they pay lots of money to, but they're still lying.
There's no such thing as an unbiased opinion, and wherever the money comes from, it seems like
Mark Garagos, the attorney, hires tons of experts. You know what they do? He pays them
to say,
and they say shit that he wants them to say.
Yeah.
That's how his experts work. And then the other side has experts, and they say shit that they're paid to say as experts.
Yeah, the crux of the study is that after 2 years, the kids didn't have any improvement in their state of mental health.
Well, this thing, first off, these people always have these great adages, and they're great. They work. Like they go, in terms of your son wants to transition into your daughter, right? And then so what they do is they go, would you rather have a living daughter or a dead son? And everyone goes, oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah, true. Right. Because if he keeps his cock, he's going to kill himself. Right?
Yeah.
I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
You steal my cock, that's when I start thinking about suicide.
Have you ever had a trans person in here and talked to her, him?
I'm saying, you steal my car. I go right over the fucking bridge like I was in boy band,
or 150 miles an hour.
I get in my Honda Odyssey and I evade the law.
Yeah,
and I go faster than those tires are rated for, and then I hang 2 of them on the dirt, and then that's where I go. If you steal my car,
to a pylon.
The thing about the trans people, I've had this a million times. Okay, I did Loveline.
I know, yeah,
very popular show. You had transvestites, you had cross-dressers, and then you had post-op transvestites,
varying degrees,
and pre-op transvestites, right? So you were allowed to go, I'm transsexual. And then you'd go, are you just a cross-dresser?
Yeah.
Or did you get the surgery?
Level of commitment.
Right. And then now everyone looks at me and goes, what are you talking about? And I go, I'm asking where the person's at, and they go, you're not allowed to ask that. They said they're a woman. They're a woman. And I'm like, well, look, if he's got a cock and balls, I don't want him going in the locker room with my daughter after volleyball practice. He's a woman.
I understand.
I understand, but we need definitions. It's not rude to ask what it is if we're at a cocktail party, but if you're interviewing the person, it's nice to know where the person's at. And then I will tell you my policy, which is if you cut your dingling off, then maybe you can go into the locker room. But if you still got it, then no. So, pardon me, that's why. But we had pre-op, post-op, cross-dresser, and transvestite.
It was a simpler time.
Now it's just, listen, the guy looks like Grizzly Adams, says he's a woman, so back off. Well, pardon me.
Overcompensating a bit.
Jesus Christ. This isn't good for kids. It's fucking harmful. And I don't know why it became such a taboo just to raise your hand and go, I don't know if I don't want my 13-year-old son taking hormones.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be a good life for him down the road.
I think you're with the majority of America, but the problem is that when you are that person, the 13-year-old that wants to be a opposite gender, then I don't know. You imagine.
Well, how does this, as Bill Maher says, and Emmy, I think I liked a Rosie O'Donnell sit-down interview that somebody tweeted me today where she was just explaining about her son or her daughter. Her daughter became a woman, or I don't know what the fuck, change her name. Like whatever this thing about how we had to respect all of it. Look, as Bill Maher says, how come this only happens on the coast? Where is this? Why is it happening in Nebraska? Why is it all L.A. and New York?
I know somebody in Missouri.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Well, when did you graduate the Groundlings, bro?
Exactly.
Yes, and you know someone in Missouri who transitioned?
Yes.
Well, sorry. Not to say it doesn't happen anywhere. It's that the overwhelming majority of it is happening in like affluent blue states.
Well, I think it's because all those people who are on the fringe, like of sexuality, a different sexuality, kind of push out to the coasts. Like everybody moves to where the gay town is.
Yeah, but no, I'm talking about 13-year-old kids.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
We got the Rosie clip.
Oh,
I don't know if this is recent. I just saw it, but she's explaining how to parent.
Her original name was Dakota, and then about a little bit over a year ago, she said, I'd like to change my name. And I said, no kidding, why? And she said, well, I feel as though Dakota is too much of a feminine name and it has a gender identity. First of all, I'm like, how did you talk like this? Like, I'm a lesbian icon. She teaches me things every day that I had no idea about.
I learned nothing
and
from
she
my
said,
kids.
I want a name that is gender neutral. I said, well, what kind of a name? She said, I was thinking about it, and I'm thinking of Clay. The hardest thing to do was not call her baby girl.
Yeah.
Because that was my common way of, morning, baby girl, right? I would always say that. And she said to me about a year and a half ago, I don't like that.
Okay.
I'm not a girl and I'm not a boy. I said, okay.
I'm a shit show.
I understand. What she wants and every kid wants is to be heard and seen. And when your child tells you who they are, believe them.
All right. She's a fucking horrible parent. The kid's going to be a fucking shit show.
Well, but see,
I got to take care of your kids. You don't have to see them and hear them. You have to provide for them and not
But if they want to be a
I
they,
had them.
like, how can you stop that?
I don't know. You don't have to respect it. You can explain to that. Look, I don't think it's that much different than saying I'd like to get a tattoo when I'm 13. I would just go, I think you're going to regret this. And as your parent, I'm not going to let you do it until you're of age or what have you. You can't just sit and let them run free. I don't know how much of it is actual gender dysphoria or how much of it is just fucking going with the trends. It can't all. You're going to find it's not going to be. There's no way this much of it's legitimate. Most of these people regret this decision, and as a parent, part of your job is to intervene when they're going to do shit they're going to regret.
Yeah.
I mean, I put on hormone blockers and cutting off their breasts and stuff like that at 14 or 13 or whatever. That makes you a shit parent. Now, what I might do is I might say, and by the way, Dakota was too feminine. She wanted a gender neutral name. She went with Clay, like Clay Matthews, the linebacker.
Clay Aiken?
Clay Aiken, getting closer. Is there any chick named Clay?
No.
Well, that's not gender neutral. Like if somebody said, we're going to meet my friend Clay for when we go out for brunch. I wouldn't go, is Clay a guy or a girl? If you said Terry, I might say that. Clay is just a dude.
Yeah. But it's also like mud.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a very good point. I was a ceramics major in high school, so I know what you're talking about. My point is, I would say to my kid, look, before we buy a whole new wardrobe or get you on gender blocking whatever, before I start pumping you with hormones or pills or shopping surgeons to see if I can get parts removed that you may want later, I will go with you and your mom or whomever, and I will sit in a therapist's office. We'll pick a therapist, and we will sit there and we will have this dialogue for a period of time to see if we can figure out where we're at with this. But no, you're not. I'm not immediately going to start calling you Clay.
See, but I've met enough people who are in that situation to realize there's something there. Like they commit to the bit.
Oh, they commit to the bit just like they thought they were going to be the next Michael Jackson when they were 13, so they started dressing that way and learning the moonwalk. But get hold of them when they're 28 and see where they're at. That's what I'm saying.
Good point.
All right. Anyway, look. This, there's a lot of bearing of information now that I don't like from the scientific community.
Oh, you mean just like this story?
Yeah, they do a study. They don't like the study. They don't like the outcome of the study, and so they don't bring it up. I don't like that. All right, sorry. Next story.
Next story, maybe another sad one. Denny's to close 150 restaurant locations. Yeah, the Denny's brand included 1,525 restaurants as of late September.
What do you think that is?
That's at least 4 million scrams. I mean, Grand Slam breakfast is gone.
How many Grand Slams have you had in your life?
At least 7.
They used to do $1.99.
Man.
Grand Slam.
And
I would do 3 when I was playing football.
Yeah,
I was so fucking hungry all the time. There was a Denny's up on Ventura Boulevard. I'd go 3 Grand Slams, which I think would be 6 eggs, 6 pancakes, and 3 hash browns or whatever it was. There also used to be a place called Sambo's. Yeah.
Sambo's?
You're making that
sounds
face.
That's like man food to the core right there.
There were Sambo's. Oh, yeah. Which ended up having a fold because it became a little derogatory. But there was Sambo's.
What's Sambo a slur for?
I think it's black. I think black. Is Sambo's black?
Sambo in my life is kind of a jiu-jitsu,
or
Russian
Indian
jiu-jitsu.
Oh, yeah, it's a black thing. You cannot.
I learn something new every day on this show.
Yeah, yeah. They had to change their name to Jigaboos. So they used to be a Sambo's. Now Sambo You know what you should hope for? Because you can find the story, Joe, of Sambo's. It's a fable. It's like a children's story about a little Indian kid and his tiger or something like that. Something like that.
All right.
That's what the story is. At some point, some redneck used it on a black dude, and then it caught on.
Oh.
And now it's derogatory. But the person that opened the diner chain was like, no, it's a cute kid's story. That's
Ricky Tikki Tavi.
Yeah. It's the Russian martial art, Sambo.
The story started pretty black. It's the story of Little Black Sambo is the name of the book.
Oh, but the kid is Indian, right? He's got a tiger.
Yeah, I think they had
he's
a
got
cartoon.
a turban and stuff, right?
He lives with his father and mother.
Oh, his dad's there?
Named Black.
Okay, he's not. Come on. His dad's right there.
Named Black Jumbo and Black Mumbo, respectively.
Ooh, Black Jumbo.
So these are South Indians.
By the way, when you find out that the love of your life did one porn movie.
Yeah.
Just one. And you want to know the name of the guy she worked with. You don't want it to be Black Jumbo. Black Jumbo's not going to be a satisfying answer for you.
Like and subscribe.
So Sambo, oh God, let's see. It's a story, but is he supposed to be Indian? I mean, he's got a turban and a tiger.
South Indian.
That's what I'm saying.
South Indian.
Yeah. I
Remember
dated
that.
two different
That's not
Indian
black,
girls.
though,
No,
right?
Definitely
Okay.
not black.
Well, but the Black Jumbo dad and mom is what got it. The derogatory stuff, right?
Well, are we looking up the etymology of the derogatory? Guys, get on.
We'll show you a picture of one of the covers, and you can tell me what you think of this.
Sambo's, the restaurant, cleaned it up a little with the tiger and the turban and the pancakes and everything. Oh.
What?
So Indian, but just real dark Indian, I guess. But somehow it made it from Indian to blacks. And that's...
Oh, what?
That's...
All right.
Yeah. It's a pretty black cover.
Jet midnight black.
Oh, also, India has a whole thing with light skin and skin lightening and race, and they sell tons of creams so people can lighten their skin and everything.
System.
Yeah. You know what else this happened to? About the same time?
Yeah.
What year did the Sambos go under? Because about the same time, Sambos was getting hit. You know who else took a big hit?
Who's that?
AIDS dietary chocolate brand.
Oh, I remember. Yep. I know about that.
There was a very popular way to eat yourself thin by eating chocolate.
Yeah.
And it was called AIDS.
That's terrible.
And when AIDS first came out, it was called Grids.
How long do you hang on? Like if you're the purveyor of the AIDS chocolatier empire, okay, and you're doing $2 million a week on chocolate bars, right? And then suddenly they change the name of this gay cancer to AIDS. How long before you shift? Do you polish the brass on the Titanic, or do you just give up immediately?
I'm trying to think, because Grids was literally gay-related intestinal disorder or something. It was an acronym for gay.
Yeah.
And that's who was getting AIDS.
Yeah, I
So
read,
it was
I
just
read
called-
the Freddie Mercury.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
So it was just called Grids. And it lived as Grids for like a couple of years, and then it became AIDS.
Yes.
But then the AIDS chocolate company went out of business, because not only that, the only thing better than AIDS chocolate for losing weight is actually getting AIDS. Like, they were actually in the same, they were competition.
Yes.
They were competing with them. The original owner's grandson, restaurateur Chad Stevens, owns the only remaining restaurant in Santa Barbara, which continues to do business under Sambo's name, or continued to do business until 2020. In late 2020, George Floyd protests against racism in the United States began in cities across the United States, including Santa Barbara. A petition drive to ask the owner to change the name. All right, so they're doing the Lord's work. But
how did I miss it? my whole life of racism, and never once did I know that was a racist term. Just it went away.
I don't know.
in
Like
the
you're
80s
from
then.
Florida. Ask your dad. I swear to God, is your dad alive?
Yes, yeah.
Very
alive.
Can you text him?
Yeah.
Text him right now.
Yeah.
I'll bet that good old boy knows about this. He didn't pass it along. He didn't do a good job as a son. It's often used in Spanish too. Sambos?
Meaning a derogatory term in Spanish for black people.
Oh, really?
In Spanish.
Huh.
Can we get a translation?
Emmy, you didn't know that?
Not in my type of Spanish.
Don't play stupid. You know what I'm talking about. Text your dad.
All right. And then say what to him? Oh, ask him.
If he knows that Sambo's a derogatory, does he know what the word derogatory means?
He definitely does. He's well read. He's well read.
All right. Sorry. Not a judgment. I'm just asking questions. Ask him if he knows that Sambo's a derogatory term for black or African American or something. We'll see what he says. Okay. So anyway, AIDS and Sambo's both went the way that the dodo, even the dodo went the way the dodo, the saying went the way the dodo. God, that's got to suck. You got the very last one. You're in Santa Barbara, a bunch of nice surfer white people around, no problemo. And then all of a sudden, George Floyd kicks in, and I got this angry mob of guys in flip-flops and board shorts around your fucking last Sambos. Yeah.
I've eaten at that Sambo's in Santa Barbara. Good.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah, delicious pancakes.
It's diner food, right? I mean, it's Denny's. It's like what is it? IHOP,
It's
Denny's,
IHOP for black
Sambo's.
guys.
That's what it is, right?
Well, a little nicer than an IHOP and a Denny's, I would say. Besides the racist name,
It's out of the way. I don't live, around Santa Barbara, but I like to support the cause, so I'll take the drive. I'll make the drive out there.
I'm getting a long text ... back, so it's like I think he's writing a rant for you.
Oh, your dad knows something.
He might know. It looks like yes, it was slang for black folks a long time ago.
I told you your dad would know. What did I tell you? Who knows your dad better than me?
You know him.
This should be embarrassing for you. I knew your dad would know Sambo.
We're from Tennessee, by the way, not Florida.
Oh, I just put you there because it sounds better.
You're right.
Didn't you say something about growing up in Florida?
No, I was teaching seminars in Florida for a while, but yeah.
Oh, okay. And nothing with your dad in Florida.
Mm-mm.
All right, Tennessee. That's good enough. That'll work.
Country road.
All right, so he's well aware of the Sambo. Emmy, you know the Sambo? No. Joe, you know the Sambo? No. All right. Well, maybe it's an age. Maybe it's an age thing. Mm-hmm. All right, what's the next news story?
Next news story is airport introduces time limit on hugs. Catch flights, not feelings. Yeah, the U.N airport in New Zealand has sparked debate around the world with this new sign imposing a 3-minute limit on hugs in its drop-off zone for fonder farewells.
3 minutes is
it's a long time.
It's a round with Mike Tyson in the 90s.
LAX,
you know what I mean? That's a long. I'll come before we get to the 3-minute mark. Sorry, Dad.
Yeah. Some commenters on the Facebook post went viral, outraged at a curfew on cuddles, while others marvel at an airport still having free drop-off area at all, given the general rise in
you go to
fees and
LAX and you stay for longer than it takes to run out the back and pop out your suitcase. That guy will fire a warning shot and yell at you to move the fuck on. There's no 3 minutes. That 3 minutes is a Beatles song. We just stand there and just. And also, fuck you. There's people pulling in. Let's get going. Don't spare the horses.
Makes no sense.
I don't like the meandering, especially when you're log jamming. You know what I mean? Get your fucking bags, keep the engine running, get the fuck out of the SUV, and hit the brake.
I'm guessing New Zealand has a much more casual airport, though. That's why they did this, and people are just kicking back. And I don't know what they do out there other than Manuka honey.
I rarely say this because I don't like saying stressful, but LAX is stressful. As always, I mean, last time we were on a shuttle. We're on a shuttle at LAX. Oh, Mike August was, and this is like 3 years ago, and he's just sitting on the shuttle, and he wasn't wearing a mask. And then this old couple who was wearing 2 masks each were like, "Where's your mask?" And he's like, "I'm double vaxxed." And they're like, "You still need a mask?" I'm like, it's so fucking stressful. God, I hope
everything
all those
about
COVID people are dead. I hope they are. I hope they are. That we don't need them. We don't need them. Do we need this couple that's double masked
Did you
yelling
ever
at Mike
catch
August?
COVID?
I have no idea.
I think I was the first man to get it.
You were?
I think so. I made out with the Chinese chick in about December in 2019. Then I went to an anger management class and coughed in everyone's face. And then just immediately I was the alpha monkey. I spread it to everybody. Patient zero right here.
Typhoid Larry.
Exactly right.
Really?
Yes.
You made out with the Chinese chick?
Made out with the Chinese, then coughed in everybody's face in a tiny room. And then suddenly the next thing I know, I was down for like 2 weeks with a mystery illness. Then fast forward 28 days later, the whole world's on fire.
You just had COVID for 2 weeks. You thought you had the flu or whatever. You didn't know.
I was like, wow, this is the really bad flu. What is going on?
Taste buds and stuff like that?
Yep, all the symptoms. Yep. And I didn't know what the hell it was. I'd never been sick like that. I figured she gave me something worse than that.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I know.
I don't know if I ever got it. Maybe.
You don't know?
I don't know.
I didn't got the sniffles. Look, I would. The first version of it, pretty raunchy. Like I was down.
Yeah, I heard the first version was tough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. It was bad. No vax to deal with. Yeah, didn't have any.
They didn't even know how to treat anybody.
No. I don't know.
Oh, man, you're lucky because they could have put you on a ventilator, which everyone who got on a ventilator died. Remember how stupid we were? Like, we need to make more ventilators. Like, oh, the thing that is killing people every time you put them on the ventilator? Yeah, we didn't know, Jack. All right. I've heard enough news.
All right.
You want to hang out? Or we got a next guest coming in.
Great.
I hope I'm going to say his name right. Bilal Rehman.
Bilal Rehman?
Bilal Rehman. Saying that right? Well, that's how it's written on this
Everybody's getting a heads up.
Yeah. Anyway, I've been watching this guy online. He's a, I guess, interior designer, but he's got real strong thoughts.
All right.
I got real strong thoughts, too. So we'll talk to him right after this. O'Reilly Auto Parts. They're in the business of keeping your car on the road. They offer friendly, helpful service and parts and knowledge that you need to maintain all the repairs and keep your car running smoothly. I've always been a fan of O'Reilly. I remember when I lived up in La Crescenta in my rented house with all my roommates, and I'd work on my Isuzu Trooper, and then later on my Toyota Supra. And I would go up to the O'Reilly up on Foothill, and that's where I got all my know-how and I got all my parts. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in the store or online, so you're never in a jam. The team at O'Reilly Auto Parts can test your battery for free, and they'll do it in or out of your car, so you can bring it in or you don't have to pull it out of your car. They'll come out and do it in the parking lot. Need your windshield wipers replaced, brake light fix, quick service? They'll help you find the right part, or they'll point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. So whether you're a car aficionado or you're a novice, you get with O'Reilly Auto Parts. They're knowledgeable, they're helpful, and best of all, they are friendly, and you can do it online or you can go in. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit them at O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam.
It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Hey man, Kevin from Florida. Driving down the interstate the other day with my wife. See a sign, a digital sign said, "Cover and secure your load." Most of us didn't know if they were talking about trucks or safe sex, but I guess it works both either way. Get it on.
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
Bilal Rehman. Or close. close enough. Is in studio. I'll give you where you can find him. As a designer, interior designer, got a lot of passion, brings it to his videos. I'm with you. I watch your one on counters. I'm with you on that. I'm a former builder, but I'm deep into design. as well, but no one trusts me because I was a builder, so they just think I'm a goofball. But I don't know, how did this start with you? How did it start with the videos? And I got questions and pictures to show you. I want to get your take on as well.
Sounds good. Well, getting started was it was actually my sister who encouraged me to make a video that went viral, which was basically to speak the way that I normally speak, which is kind of that little rough around the edges and kind of telling people that their house is ugly as fuck and that we got to change some stuff, as opposed to what I was doing before that, which was being more professional and kind of that uppity designer, thinking that, my shit doesn't stink kind of attitude.
Right.
So we made that pivot, and when we made that pivot to being, more natural, it really, really went viral. And since then, I've built a huge audience, and then now everybody trusts me and with their homes.
So I've built a lot of houses and renovated a lot of houses, and I'm very insanely particular with stuff. I also know there's trends, and I renovated a house up in the Hollywood Hills, 1927, very Mediterranean, beautiful. And I kept saying, I got to put it back exactly how it was, and they go, well, how about you go shabby chic? Because that was popular. But I go, I don't want to put a time stamp on it. I have, what a crazy thing is? This should be your next video. You go to these beautiful Spanish sort of duplexes on the west side that were built all in the 20s and early 30s, and then you go into the kitchen and it's avocado countertops and burnt orange cabinetry, and you're like, and linoleum on the floor, and you're like, what happened? Well, it was built in 1924. They redid the kitchen in 74, and they did it just like the Brady Bunch house, except for look around at the rest of the house, you idiots.
Correct.
I feel that way about black trim everywhere now.
Yeah.
Every house is using a burnt umber, dark charcoal trim around the fascia, around the windows, all the trim around the house. And I'm like, this never existed. It started 4 years ago. Everyone has done it. And we're going to put a timestamp on everyone and when they did this.
Yep, correct. That black trim trend actually came into effect when Chip and Joanna Gaines started doing the modern farmhouse look. And HGTV made that so
Does that
popular.
work? That's who to blame.
Man, yeah, that's who to blame. Because it doesn't look good on any house that I've ever seen. So
black was never a trim color for fascia, cladding or whatever it is. All right. I know flooring was a thing of yours.
Yeah, that was the big one that made us famous, was that gray hardwood floor.
Yeah. It's a timestamp of exactly when you did it, just like that kitchen with the burnt orange. I fucking love terrazzo.
Yes,
I
agree.
want pour-in-place terrazzo. You would think I was a idiot savant with Tourette's. Every time I pass through an airport, I just stare at the ground. Terrazzo, look at the terrazzo, look at the transit. Oh, cove molding on the base with the terrazzo. Cove molding. It coves up. It's so good. Don't have that sharp edge with the baseboard and the base shoe with all the dirt. The mop can't get there. It's a black line of dirt that gets wedged in there. Terrazzo with the cove.
That terrazzo with a cove is, honestly, it's such a high-end look, and it's very, very natural for LA. There's a lot of houses that had that. It was a big trend in LA, and it kind of trickled its way into the rest of the country, but it's on its way out because now everybody wants the big baseboard, like you said, with the little space underneath, and
you mean the shadow line between the drywall and the baseboard with the L metal?
Correct.
Yeah, we can call that a reveal sometimes. But what do I know?
The builder terms.
What do I know? Yeah, so when I build my house, I'm going terrazzo with the cove, and then the cove will come up probably 8 inches, and then it'll be the ½ inch worth of reveal, and the drywall will flush out with the cove, and then we'll have a shadow line there.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be sick.
And by the way, when the dog throws up, no big deal. You can. It's a cove, and you can literally hose out your living room if you have terrazzo. That's why they do it at the airport.
Correct.
All right. So I made I made a what I would call a bold design decision.
Okay.
Probably I renovated this Spanish house in the hills probably about 2010. I'm probably right about the time you were born. And I did something that I'd never seen done before. I painted my stainless steel appliances.
You painted your stainless steel appliances?
Nice.
What, did you use an auto paint, like a car paint?
Yes, I did.
Okay, all right,
smart
there
man.
you go.
You know
There
why?
go. Why?
Well, as you know, these companies, Wolf or Sub-Zero, Gagnon, like these high-end whatever, they started offering a refrigerator in a couple of colors. You get like a baked-on enamel and like a burgundy or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was looking at that stuff, and I was like, this is good, looks nice. And then they're like, but what about the stove? Do you have the burgundy stove? And they go, no, they don't offer it on the stove. And then I'd go, well, what about the dishwasher front? They go, no, it's just a fridge. And then this other company does this one, but they only do the dishwasher, but not the stove. And I'm like, well, why am I getting a color in here if I can't do all the appliances in that color?
Correct.
And they go, well, they don't offer that. Nobody does that. And then I go, well, I should paint it myself. And then all the dumb people, which is most of you guys, you go, well, how's that going to be durable enough, like on your refrigerator? Or what about the stove with the heat? I go, there's a car called a DeLorean.
Yes.
It's stainless steel. And I've seen red DeLoreans.
Yep.
Because people paint them.
Yeah.
Well, how's that work? I go, you don't think your hood of your car is going to get hot when you're in a Costco in Van Nuys in July? And you don't think it's going to get bird droppings? You're going to have to hose it all? What do you mean the refrigerator door is going to take more of a beating from the sun or whatever?
Yeah.
I go, if they got it for a DeLorean, then they can spray. It's just they need the right kind of primer.
Correct.
And we'll do it. And everyone looked at me like nuts. I took every single thing apart. I took the refrigerator doors off. I took the goddamn microwave. I took the front of the mic. I had to take them the whole microwave because I couldn't get I could get the door off, but I couldn't get the shroud off.
Yeah.
Took it all, painted it all, brought it back, put the shit back together.
Yeah. Did you paint it yourself? No.
No, I took it to an auto body place.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I said, have you ever painted a DeLorean? They go, yes, we have.
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox was just here.
Oh, my gosh.
Actually, I made that up. All right, show the, all right, here's one, except for it's got all the kids' shit. I think there's I got the refrigerator. Show another one, sorry. I got the refrigerator. Sorry, show the one that's better than this. We'll keep going here.
I'm waiting to get to the good picture.
The next picture that'll be better than this one. That'll illustrate what I'm saying a little better. This one, you can see the wine refrigerator on the far right's been painted as well. There's another picture that we can show here. The refrigerator, the microwave is up above. The oven is to the right. And I'm sorry, you can go back to the first pic. Or we can enlarge it. You can go back to the first one. That was fine. She had a bunch of kids' stuff on it. And it was all painted. It was all it was all totally durable. It never chipped. It never faded. You know, you could bake as many muffins as you wanted in the oven. The microwave, nothing ever happened. And it was all the same color. And it was pretty easy. I just took the microwave. I took the door off. I took the door off the ovens. I took the door off the fridge. I just took it all off. I took all the handles off because I didn't want to paint the handles. And then I put the stainless or brushed aluminum or whatever it is, handles back on it. If you show a wide shot, again, I also painted the floor. And I've done a lot of floor painting, and I want to know where you come down on floor painting. This was original, clear, Doug fir, true 1-inch, T&G, and I sanded it.
Oh, man.
And I plugged all the goddamn holes in it, and I did a border on it, and I painted it, and now here's the thing to painting a floor. If you're going to do a border, you have to get an artist, a scenic artist, to freehand a transition, or the edge is going to look too sharp.
Yeah.
And she did. And then I clear coated it. All right.
Oh, my gosh.
Thoughts?
So you definitely time-stamped the house. I know that you didn't want to do that, but you did. The painting the floor thing is actually something that became really popular with Victorian houses. Like a lot of people who were flipping them or remodeling them and wanted to bring some new life into them started doing that technique.
What year was that?
They've been doing it for a while, since early 90s, I think, when they started making that like painted floor kind of trend come in
I guess there isn't any. I guess if there's no Victorian houses in L.A. or the San Fernando Valley or something, because I've never been in a house with a painted floor.
Yeah,
but
it's more East Coast.
I painted it because it had so many holes in it from so many pipes, because I gutted the kitchen. It had so many holes in it that I patched and then painted. But I always knew I could go over it. People like, you could put tile over it, or you could put linoleum, that old school, one piece rolled out or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm going to save it and paint it. And that's what I did. But it's really a subfloor. You could put whatever you wanted on it, although there'd be a height issue.
Yeah.
Anyway, painting appliances. Have you heard of
Painting appliances is a huge thing now, actually.
Oh,
wow. A lot of brands, especially the high-end brands, they want to give you that kind of customizability, so they're doing the paint.
They're coming pre-painted. They're coming
pre-painted.
You could get the dishwasher. Because the problem is people go, I want the Fisher Paykel dishwasher, and I want the Wolf range, and I want the Sub-Zero fridge, and now how the color's all going to match.
Yeah, so if you start doing different brands, different manufacturers, then obviously you have to do what you did and go on a whole journey to try to make them all match.
Well, this is more than 20 years ago, so they didn't really have the variety. They had a couple. Back then.
Now, I mean,
everything's painted.
Hundreds. Even not necessarily painted, but they're still coming in colors. Like Samsung has a whole collection called the Bespoke Collection, where all of the appliances have a glass front, and it's a painted glass that you can change the color of whenever you get bored. So, yeah.
And we can get the microwave?
And the microwave and the oven. Everything would match. And when you get bored of it, you pop out 2 little clips and you take out the glass piece and put in a new glass piece with a different color. So
I like that you would get bored somehow.
Yeah.
And the wine fridge in the back corner got painted as well.
You went full in.
I said everything in this kitchen's getting taken. I had my nanny painted too. I was like, look, bitch, if you're going to be in this kitchen, I can't have you clash with the refrigerator.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Which color out of that did you paint her in?
I burnt her like a burnt orange.
Yeah?
Yeah. They have nanny primer.
Nanny primer.
They got everything now, man.
Oh my God. I know. For real.
But what would you say your design philosophy is? Say, like, you go to an empty house, and what do you look for first? Like, what's your process?
Yeah, so it's a really weird process to kind of explain to people, but when I walk into an empty house, I can already envision like what the house is going to look like when it's done. And I guess it's like kind of what a plastic surgeon would envision. Like they can look at you and say, this is what you're going to look like. And they're the only ones who really know what they're thinking in their head, right? So it's kind of the same concept. But whenever I walk into a space, I really try to take in all of the details of what the original structure is. So what is the view outside the window? What are the original characters of the house? The molding, the doors, the handles, all that kind of stuff. Take that in and kind of create a mental inventory of what we need to keep and what can go. And then from there, just start building it in my head and create the magic with the team.
I got some tile related issues.
Tell me.
Well, every time there's one of these Britney Spears videos of her in her underpants dancing with a machete, everyone talks about her, you know, but I talk about the tile.
You know what? I noticed that too. I'm like, what's this janky floor?
Her house looks real crazy.
She's worth $50 million when she got the bad travertine from the 90s.
Well, we're not sure where that money is right now, so clearly it's not in her house because the house is looking crazy.
Oh, we got that videos somewhere, I'm imagining. Yeah. What is that? 16 by 16 or it's not becoming.
It's very early 2000s, dated.
Yeah, get your tile worked out, sweetheart, and then the rest will follow. All the mental conditions. When you get those ground lines worked out, the rest will follow. And then, of all places, there's the UN. You ever see footage? UN, very important decisions are being made at the UN. They've had the same shitty 90s tile on the back. We can do better than that. People are talking about life and death and wars and famine, and this horrible
and it looks like the bathroom at the Sky Bar.
Yeah, it does. It looks like a bathroom of a strip joint from the 80s.
Oh my God.
We got to do better. Can you get hold of these people?
Government buildings need to hire new design teams because this is a thing across the board. It doesn't matter if you go into a post office or the UN office. All of them have the same ugly designs, ugly materials. It's like they literally went to the store and said, "What do you guys have on clearance? Just give me whatever you have on clearance, and that's what we're going to use."
I mean, the UN has had this same weird jade one by one tile since its inception. And I mean, this tile's, I don't know, it's from the 80s or something. The UN's from before the 80s, but this particular facility must have been built in the 80s. I don't know. Somebody could look it up, but it's time for an up. They got to freshen it up.
At this point, they're just going to keep it until it comes back into style because that's what they've had it this long.
Flow.
Yeah, give them another 5 years. Everybody will be doing green tile, and then after that, maybe it'll be time.
Is everything
going to
come back? I mean, I know I see women's fashion, and now they're wearing the bell bottoms, and everyone's the whole thing, but. Yep. Is shabby chic ever coming back?
I hope not.
I will kill
Fuck
myself.
Shabby chic.
Fuck shabby chic.
Shabby chic is the nastiest design trend I've ever seen.
It's horrible, right?
I don't know why somebody would want to live in that.
Because in 2001, everyone was like, "You got to do shabby chic," and I was like, "I'm not doing it." And they're like, "You got to." That's what everyone's doing.
Oh my gosh, no, shabby chic is terrible. But in terms of something coming back, I definitely think all of the design trends are cyclical. Just like the fashion world, like you said, they're always going to come back, but they'll come back in a different way. So Tuscan style is coming back right now. It was super big in the early 2000s. Everybody had it. We had the roosters in our kitchen. We had the dark wood. We had all of that stuff. It's coming back, but in a different way. Now it's in travertine and it's in more of that Mediterranean kind of feel. It's not so heavy and dark and old. So you're going to get those cyclical patterns, but hopefully certain things like shabby chic just go away and never come back.
What would you call your style? Like what your, you know what I mean? If we had your hip name, shabby chic.
Yeah.
Nah, what would you, what adjective and verb would you put in?
Yeah, in terms of my personal style, I would say it's modern eclectic. So I really like that kind of contemporary touch throughout all of my designs and all of our projects. I really like it to feel new and fresh and future driven. That's kind of the whole goal. But if you don't mix in some old souls into what you're doing, it's just going to feel like a catalog project where you just went and bought everything from one store. So
you don't, by the way, you can find your gallery, your line at Home Goods store.
Not at Home Goods, no. I actually have my own gallery. It's called Bilal Rehman Gallery, and we have a flagship location in Houston, but it's shoppable worldwide online.
Let me cross this off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Not Home Goods. I'm not a discount store yet.
I wonder why it says that. Oh, something's on the internet. I don't know what it is. All right. So, you don't like bedroom sets.
Fuck no.
All right. And you don't like those inspirational signs where you have to hang a sign like in this house we do coffee.
Dude, if you need a sign to tell you where the toilet is, then you have bigger problems than designing your house.
Live, laugh, love?
No.
Not a fan?
You are not live, laughing,
love,
loving. No.
And we do apologies. And
nothing.
How about bless this mess?
Nothing.
Kiss the cook?
Nothing. I don't want to see any word signage in your entire house, or even worse, the mugs that say coffee or the mugs that say tea.
What about my poster with the kitten hanging by a string?
No.
Hang in there, baby?
Yeah.
Hell no.
And what about
burn the house down?
What about my number one dad mug?
No.
But what if you are the number one dad? What if you do have the belt?
Let's be honest.
What I mean?
What about the frog choking the stork? Never give up?
Hell no.
All right.
Hell no. None of that shit. And all of that shit it's junk. It just builds junk in a house. You're not building an aesthetic. You're not building a vibe.
What about my Backstreet Boys poster?
Sorry. Backstreet Boys are no longer together. It's time for the poster to go.
Bye, bye, bye.
So we don't like any of the announcements of the coffee. There's a lot of red wine ones.
No, I'm like, you don't have to have a cup that announces you're a drunk. We know you're a drunk. We see how many white wine cups and red wine cups are in this thing.
And no proclamations about what we do in this house?
Nothing. Nothing. Yeah. We don't need to know where the laundry room is by a sign that says laundry. You know?
All right, wait. So
what about bless this mess? Come on. Come
We're
on.
not blessing this mess.
You got to bless the mess.
Clean your freaking house. Nobody wants to see your mess.
Well, but all right. Well, if I'm picking up what you're putting down, okay, I'm trying to be eclectic, right? I'm trying to make the space usable and kind of open. But then I have to have one piece that has soul in it, old school. Is that what you're saying?
Old soul, yeah.
All
yeah,
right,
exactly.
So say I have my house with my couch pushed up against the wall.
Mistake number one.
Okay. So take it, how many feet, a foot or two off the...
just give it a little breathing room.
Breathing room, all right. And then what do because I have nothing in the house.
Yeah.
So what old piece should I put in there?
Yeah.
A statue we're talking?
No.
I need a shoplift
it doesn't have
from the
to.
Met Gala?
No, please
right.
don't do that. It literally doesn't have to be like a sculpture or a statue. What I mean by that is, let's say your sofa is super modern, right?
It is.
So yeah. Correct. So it's a modern sofa. Go ahead and get something that's maybe a vintage coffee table, something that has a little bit of wear and tear, something that has a little soul to it, and mix that in with your sofa, and all of a sudden everything starts to feel more curated and collected and designer, as opposed to a really modern coffee table with a really modern sofa.
Now, what is your take on picking stuff up off the side of the road in nice neighborhoods?
Don't do it.
Damn it.
Don't do it. They threw it away for a reason. They did not throw it away just because. Like, did you guys see that video of that blue Rocher Bobois sofa that got picked up in New York that apparently was a part of like an orgy? Did you see that video? That was crazy.
I'd like to see it.
That was crazy.
Well, we can find that. Is your store located in Houston?
It is.
Okay,
it is.
that's what. So when it says home goods store, I think Kyle meant it generically, not home goods.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
we are not affiliated with Home Goods, but I do own a store that sells home goods.
That's I think that's where the confusion was. So there was a sofa.
Yes.
That was given away.
Yeah. So it was I think the sofa itself retailed for like $14,000 or $15,000 new from the store. Somebody had put it on the curb in New York, and this girl picked it up, made a whole TikTok series. It went viral. Everybody was like, wow, what an amazing find. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Turns out the guy who put the sofa on the street released footage of what had happened on the sofa and why he put it on the street.
Wow.
After she had taken it home and shampooed it and cleaned it and made all these videos. So then when you find out really what happened on the sofa, all of a sudden you realize it really is just trash and should have stayed on the road.
Was he making...
Yeah, that's the sofa right there.
Was he doing it on...
I remember this. Yeah.
Was he doing it on purpose?
I don't know, man. I don't know. But
that's a happy accident.
That's a long game he was playing.
I don't think she could have shampooed that sofa
couch
enough.
In the middle of the street. Here's a quick story time. It was pouring raining and I was walking home and I saw this couch in the middle of the street and I called my dad begging him to come pick it up because I couldn't just leave that couch there. He told me no, it was not possible. But then he surprised me and showed me that he did pick up the couch and he had it in his work office.
Now he's
but
pregnant.
The couch was very dirty, so
he has a few STDs.
So we got all the things we needed to clean it, some soap, water, a vacuum, and that's my sister using a little machine thing. And I was very interested in how that works because I think she was doing it wrong. But as you see, that was me scrubbing my life away to make sure this couch gets as clean as possible. I don't know why she thought that was a good idea, but that's satisfying right there. Very satisfying. And
I do think about that when I watch porn every once in a while.
This is the after. We had to let it dry. And we let it dry for a few days. And this is my boyfriend and my dad bringing the couch into my apartment. We didn't know if it was going to fit into the elevator, but it ended up fitting perfectly. This is my couch that I had before.
It's so weird that people have to chronicle every step they take now, right? Like I found a fucking sofa on a curb.
In my apartment.
All right, so next we're going to see the porno, right?
No.
No? All right, fine.
Oh my gosh.
That's for Substack viewers only.
There is something that is etched into my brain as it pertains to this. I was looking at back when you had to have porno magazines, because I'm old. You don't know. Oh my gosh. You don't know this.
I had them.
Before my time.
They had like Hustler and Swank and Wee, and they had like porno magazines.
Good old Penthouse.
And there was a picture of a porn star in the back. You know, the thing about these magazines, they had kind of a weird sense of humor because they're porn. You know, like we're not uptight. You know, we're not we're not God-fearing Christians here. We make porn magazines. You know, so they would do like funny stuff. And there was a picture of a semi-popular porn star, and his name was FM Bradley.
Oh, yeah?
Now, I think it was named after Field Marshal Bradley, who may have helped in the African campaign of World War II. They have a Bradley fighting vehicle that's after Field Marshal Bradley. Anyway, this guy, big black guy, and he named himself FM Bradley. You find a picture of FM Bradley. And it was a picture, and it was a candid picture. He didn't know they were taking a shot of him. He was naked. And his back sort of turned to the camera, sort of half turned, and he was clearly just wiping his dick off on the drapery. Like he was like,
oh my god!
And it just said, "This is why you shouldn't let them shoot a porno in your house."
Correct. And those drapes probably ended up on the street in a garage sale, and somebody hung them up in their dining room.
That's why you don't pick stuff up.
Yes,
and
correct.
I'm now flashing back to my own mom, who used to take sofas off the street and tuck a sheet into them because they were so torn up. And I mean, look, we're white trash. Don't get me wrong, but. Take a bed sheet and tuck it in, and that would be our stupid sofa.
Oh, man. Yeah, no. Leave the furniture on the street.
Just leave the furniture on the street.
You made me rethink my whole strategy.
Yeah, well, we got to talk after this because the sofa's against the wall. There's been a lot of red flags for this living room.
Very well. You're right.
Yeah, I was a trendsetter in painting my appliances far before it became
I've heard
correct. I will give you that.
In vogue. Yeah. Yes, that was 2003 probably. I painted those. I never saw it in anyone else's house. But like I said, you couldn't mix, and people didn't do this anymore. So back in the day, as a carpenter, you would say, "Well, I need my tools." So you'd go, "Okay, well, Bosch makes the best jigsaw. Porter Cable makes the best router. Skill makes the hypoid saw." DeWalt, no, it wasn't even DeWalt. Makita makes the cordless drill, and you'd have 15 different brands represented.
Correct.
And then it became that way with you want the Sub-Zero fridge, you want the Wolf stove, you want the Viking this. But somehow the brands smartened up and went, we're just going to go all the way across the line.
Correct.
Right? And then you'll have uniformity. Just the handles were all different back then, you know?
Yeah.
And you would do the same. You'd go, I'm getting the Fisher-Paykel dishwasher, and I'm getting the Viking stove and the Sub-Zero fridge, and you'd have all the different makes. But now everyone's just going all the way across the line, right?
Yeah. Correct. I mean, there's definitely still a hierarchy. Like you'll get a Sub-Zero still the best fridge that you'll get or whatever.
What's the best dishwasher?
The best dishwasher is Bosch. Bosch is the one that everybody wants to
What's
have.
the best fridge?
The best fridge is Sub-Zero.
What's the best microwave?
The best microwave is probably Viking.
How about
Viking's doing a microwave?
Viking, yeah. We actually just put one in one of our projects in Houston, and that microwave is badass.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. So Viking would have never done a microwave back in the day. And then you were saying in Bosch is one of these companies that does everything good. They're just German. They do fuel injection for, Mercedes or whatever. They do jigsaws. They just I don't know what Bosch doesn't make, but it's all good. It's kind of like Porsche.
Precision.
It's not like, their mountain bike's a piece of shit, right? And it's like, no, it isn't. It's Porsche. It's $8,000, but it's Porsche.
Correct. I mean, you're with stuff like that, when you're getting into that caliber of appliances, you're buying it for the longevity, you're buying it for the name, and you're buying it for the fact that it's adding value to your house. So whenever you get ready to sell that house, you can list it there and say, I have a Sub-Zero fridge, I have a Bosch dishwasher, and all that stuff. And it just gets everybody excited because now they don't have to go and spend $50,000 on appliances because you already have all of the premium stuff. So
what's our countertop material that we're going with? I know we don't like stainless.
Travertine?
No.
We don't like
definitely not travertine.
Are you Britney Spears? Get the fuck out of here. What are you, the UN?
Travertine is a no. No, so right now the latest and greatest is actually porcelain countertops. Porcelain. This is the newest innovation, which is kind of up and coming. And I have a love-hate relationship with it right now. But it's basically like a giant tile. So there's no maintenance to it. There's no sealers. There's no special cleaning products. You can clean it with glass cleaner, and it'll be perfectly fine. The issue with it is that it's not a full-body slab, which what that means is the print is only on the top.
It's laminated.
It's not all the way through. So God forbid you chip it or you crack it or something like that, you can't fix it. You have to replace it. That's the problem with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of that way with a lot of engineered flooring and stuff like that as well. They'll give you hopefully enough. like when they engineer floor, they'll give you 3/16 or enough so you can sand it down once or twice before having to throw it out, you know, and restain it or whatever. So hopefully they give you enough porcelain.
Barely.
But you can get it in any size?
So it comes in the traditional slab sizes. So kind of what you would buy a slab of marble for. It's that exact same size, a little bigger, a little smaller. But the nice part about it is that it's significantly cheaper and there's no maintenance.
Where are you with the Caesar stone and the engineered stuff?
Caesar stone, Sile stone, all that kind of stuff is definitely really, really good. So those products, everybody always asks me about those products. Those products are actually a hybrid product. So they behave like a porcelain product, but they have components from quartz. And what that does is it makes it a lot stronger, and it makes you have more flexibility in what you're going to do with it and how you're going to install it. Like silestone and stuff can go up on a wall much easier than a slab of marble because it weighs a fourth of what a slab of marble weighs. So there's different applications for those products, but they're super good in like technology advances. So they keep making that product better and better every year. Like Cosentino is one of our favorite companies to work with. And they're probably like industry leaders with how they do their slabs.
I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Now, do you now I would put probably, and I don't know if it's in vogue, but you know, they used to, the edge, the bull nose would either be, back in the day was quarter round, you know, round over. It'd be round.
All right.
And I like chamfer. I like the chamfer. Now they're probably just going with the broken edge, right? Just a sort of non-sharp 90, right?
It's the mitered edge. That's what it's called, is where it's just that 90-degree kind of basic, super simple, clean edge. But actually, the trend is now going away from that, and everybody wants character again. So now you're seeing
Roman OG.
Yeah, you're seeing the OG edges. You're seeing
they had a Roman OG on that sofa, bro.
Yeah,
and now
we'll keep
got
it
ruined.
it's back in style now.
You know what a Roman OG is?
Oh yeah.
It's a router. Yeah, it's a
I thought you were talking about the other one.
What would be the description of a Roman OG? So what I'm saying is you go for the edge.
Yeah.
You could go with up 90 just with a broken edge.
Where it
drops down, wraps around, comes around again. That's Roman OG. Then there's round over. Then there's chamfer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, you know your terminology. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I fucking build houses my whole life.
Damn, like I don't know what book we got that out of.
Well, this is the whole thing when people go, they used to say to me all the time, you really know this shit or are you just making it up?
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you think? I'm making up Caesar stone with a Roman OG finish on it? Like, I just made that up.
That's not just shit you make up. Like, that's shit you learn and you build it into your knowledge, you know? And if you've been building houses like
So you're talking about the trends, but how do you dance that line? Because you seem like you have a very specific vision, and then, you know, whatever the builder or whatever the client wants, how do you have to sell them on a lot of things, huh?
Yeah. So we have a rule at our studio, actually, no trends. So if I see a TikTok video that has something in it, or if I see something trending on social media, we're not allowed to use it in any of our projects. No designer can pull it into a project. And I've gotten into a few fights with a few of my designers over this because they think that, oh, it's up and coming, it's something we should do. The problem with these trends is because of the day and age we live in and with social media, these trends come and go just as fast. So it'll be in this week and out next week. And if we start doing that, our projects are no longer timeless, you know? So why are you paying a designer? That's something you can do on your own. But if you're coming to me, you want your house to last 10, 15 years and still look really good after all of that time. You know, so we stay away from that. That's
There's your Roman OG edge.
That's your
exactly
edge.
what I thought. Yeah.
Well, you know, look, the thing, a trend versus just quality,
correct,
and in good design, is it's all around you. Like I said, you look at a Porsche from 1973; it looks beautiful. I mean, it's highly sought after. It's valuable. It's more valuable than it was when it rolled off the showroom floor in 1973 because of the design.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
And architecture's that way. Fashion's that way. You know. Women are that way, you know. I mean, you look at Raquel Welch; she looked pretty damn good in 1969. You know, that's just kind of how it is. Like, good design is really timeless, and then trends you're rolling the dice on because it could work out, but it's probably not going to work out. And what you don't want is people walking like it's like when you restore a vintage car, you put it back exactly. And then someone will go, well, everyone's doing these 22-inch spinner dubs now. And you go, yeah, but it's a 55 Chevy. And they go, yeah, but this is what everyone's doing now.
Correct.
You go, but you're putting the new rims on the old car.
Correct.
It's going to look like shit. And they go, but this is whatever. And then someone sees it 20 years down the road and they go, I'll bet you redid this car. And they tell you, they shouldn't walk into your bathroom and be able to tell you the year you did your remod.
Yep. You got it. That's the problem with trends. I just don't like following them. I think that people who are not designers are creating these trends because they're getting brand deals or they're getting sent furniture. And then all of a sudden, that's what you're seeing on social media. So, for example, the white kitchen. Everybody wanted a white kitchen for how many years now, right? Yeah. But then during COVID, there was this weird pivotal thing that happened where everybody was over white and now everything was cream. So you stop doing white and now everybody wants cream. So everybody who just spent 20 grand, 30 grand painting their entire kitchen white, now it's outdated because now cream is in trend. So once you start following that pattern, it's like you get stuck in it and you have to keep changing. Whereas the people who ignored the trend, and went with an all-black kitchen, something that's really out of the box, something that not a lot of people do, that's still timeless, and it looks good today, and it looked good 5 years ago. So,
but where's the gamble? Speaking of all black, what happened to FM Bradley? We're going to pull up a picture of Field Marshal Bradley?
Yeah.
So once you get familiar with
Sambo
that guy.
Bradley?
Oh, come on now. You crossed the line. All right. One more question. Yes. What do you got? What do you got, Mayhem?
Oh, no. I was just going to ask, where the missteps in your career have been. Because, you weren't always this high level.
He's 25. He can't have any missteps yet.
There have been some missteps.
Really?
I'm telling you. So I don't have formal training in design. I actually got an internship straight out of high school in a design company, and I worked my way up in that design company to a senior level. So I never learned from the rule book. I never learned the codes and everything the way that, you normally learn in school. So I had to learn by doing, and learning by doing is dangerous because you make a lot of mistakes. So, I in my career, I have painted walls with the wrong kinds of paint. I have used non-commercial flooring in commercial spaces, and it's out of pocket. I mean, it costs you a lot. Now I know everything I need to know, so we're good because now I've been in the industry for 8 years. But early on, man, that was
well. How did you
crazy.
Even wander into this? It seems kind of.
I have always had a passion for design, but I come from immigrant parents, so I'm not allowed to do anything creative as a career. I have to be an engineer, a doctor, or a lawyer. Those are my three options, right? So I originally went to school for computer engineering, but I did it for a few months. Hated it. I could not see myself. I hated the people. I hated what I was learning. I was like, this is miserable. I can't do this for the rest of my life. So I switched into business for a business degree, and I ended up getting that internship in a design company, which God knows how I got with no portfolio. And it was just kind of like all the cards aligned. I learned everything I needed to learn, and now here we are.
Well, let me give you a plug. There's FM Bradley.
Oh, my God.
It's kind of a weird picture, but it'll work.
He's great.
Well, would you want him wiping his dick off on your drapery, Mayhem?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
You'd be all right with that?
It'd be an honor, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Hopefully we'd just be wiping the sweat off our brow from that couch workout we did.
Oh, God. Remind me to never sit on anything in your house. If I ever come over.
Do not.
Yeah, there's no reason to go to Mayhem's house. If I pick him up, I honk the horn. I don't get out of the car. All right, let me send people to where? Instagram, TikTok, website.
Yes.
I will spell it out since sometimes it's pronounced a little differently than it's spelled. Bilal. Last name, Rehman. Studio.com is
Correct.
Where you go for all the
Correct.
info.
Yep.
This is fun. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun.
Come back on, man. We'd love to see that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming by. And also, you can check out Tim Pool's Daily Pod as well. Tim Pool Daily News Podcast is where you go. Me, I'm going to be in Vegas and Big Bear, and I'm everywhere. Just go to AdamCarolla.com. Until next time, it's Adam for Tim and Mayhem and Bilal saying mahalo.